Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe. I'm a Forbes contributor covering social entrepreneurship and impact investing. And today's guest is really an extraordinary individual. Our guest is former Prime Minister Laurent Lamothe. He is the former Prime Minister of Haiti. Prime Minister, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Devin. It's a pleasure to be on your show today, and I'm looking forward to it.
You served as Prime Minister of Haiti for the longest term of anyone in my lifetime, as I understand it.
That's correct. I served for 31 hardworking months, having many sleepless nights.
Yes, I imagine. I was just going to say your mantra must have been, in those years shortly after the earthquake must have been, we'll rest when we're dead, because there was so much work to be done at that time.
It was incredible. It was extraordinary work, but worth every minute of it.
I visited Haiti last November, and it was really really a life-changing experience for me. It's a wonderful country. It was tragic to see the signs that remain of the earthquake. It was exciting to see the progress that we could see in so many areas. But Haiti really is a special and unique place in the hemisphere, isn't it?
Haiti is a very special place with a very special past, a very special history, very special people, very proud people, the people of Haiti, and definitely it's a place that is unique in the world.
Now, I think of you as a social entrepreneur. You created the LSL Worldwide Initiative, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when I resigned, when President Martelly asked me to resign last year, I felt that Haiti was in the midst of great progress. Haiti was really going forward. And when I stepped out of the position, I deep down inside, I felt that I have, something to share with the world and something to give back to Haiti. And I wanted to do it through a channel where I could reach developing countries and see what we did in Haiti, where we had a lot of international support, but very little of our own resources. So I created LSL World Initiative in order to contribute what was learned to other developing countries. And it's been a great initiative. I mean, I've traveled the world. From Serbia to Rwanda to Suriname to El Salvador, going to Spain, Austria, and just talking about self-reliance model, a model that's yes, developing countries need foreign development assistance, but cannot depend on it eternally. You have to be able to be self-reliant, fly from your own wings, develop your own permanent financing structures, and through innovative financing. And this is what we're talking about. We're talking about transaction-based innovative financing for the development of countries. Developing countries are faced with budget deficits. They're faced with lack of their own resources. They're faced with lack of understanding from the donor community. So it's important for them to have their own sources, their own means of revenue to be able to have the greater impact on a specific development sector, whether it's education, health, infrastructure, you name it. But it gives them a way to be able to finance their way forward.
Now, you also recently created a foundation in honor of your father, Dr. Louis Lamothe. Tell us a little bit about the work of the foundation.
Well, the foundation was a continuation of the work that my father did and that I did as Prime Minister of Haiti. And it's a way to continue to consistently give back to the community, to the ordinary citizens, to the farmers, to the pregnant women that need help, but do it in a micro way because the foundation will not be able to do it in cross country. So we focused in a village called Nampayol. It's an 18,000 resident village, very small in the middle of the mountain. It's a two and a half hour walk even to get there. There was no access to the village, so pregnant women were losing their lives because they could not get to hospitals. Many children, newborn, were lost because they couldn't have access to care. The production of the area was significantly hampered. So I decided to focus on that and do what's called the smart village concept, to do it around renewable energy that would hit every single aspect of the development of the village. Just like to have a smart village and to show what the smart village, as a microcosm of what can be in the rest of the country, and why not the rest of the developing world. So it's a small concept, but that has big repercussions and certainly huge dividends that can be paid for the rest of the developing world. This is the vision, and this is how I would like to take it.
Fascinating work. I would love to talk more about that, but my Twitter followers have been pinging me with questions, and I want to get to some of those because I think they're good questions. A follower by the name of Nutu Konetke asked if you could quantify the level of agricultural outputs necessary to help Haiti's GDP.
Well, we need to be, the first thing is that Haiti needs to work at being self-reliant and self-sufficient in terms of food security. So in the agricultural field, Haiti used to be self-sufficient in the rice production. Now Haiti imports, I would say 75% of its rice consumption. So we need to invest. And when we look at that area, the agricultural area, there is 3 specific segments that have to be taken into account. One is the financing for the farmers. They have no access to capital today, so you have a subsistence type of agriculture. 2 is the irrigation, the land irrigation. That's a big problem. And 3 is certainly the fertilizers needed in order for the agricultural to increase. We currently consume 400,000 tons of rice per year, whereas we only produce less than 70,000. And out of the 70,000, 10,000 are wasted. So really, this is where the main focus has to be, and that has to drive the GDP. And Haiti could be an exporter of rice because the quality of rice that we have is excellent. It's a gourmet type of rice that could be sold in Whole Foods, in many of the the organic type of stores throughout the United States and the rest of the world. So definitely the rice sector is one where that could help positively impact our GDP.
The same fellow asked if you would consider another run at the Prime Minister's job. Now, I guess another Prime Minister just left. There may be an election coming up soon. This may be very relevant.
Yes, but as I say, I get asked that questions 20 times per day, and whether I'm going to continue. I was very privileged to have served Haiti and to have contributed to the progress. I believe that there was great progress done under an impossible situation. I'm not looking forward to going back, as Prime Minister. There is an election that that happened. I tried to run. Unfortunately, there was a lot of political forces, mostly the establishment forces, that kept me out of the race. And we see the state that the country is at right now. But the process is already started. So right now I'm focusing on the foundation work. And again, you don't have to be a prime minister or a president to help your country, to help the ordinary citizens and the people that need help the most. And that's what I'm continuing to do.
So he asked again, same fellow, one last question from him. He asked, what advice would you give to the current parliament? Well,
is to fast track the resolution of the country right now. The country doesn't have a president right now. The President Martelly's term expired on February 7th. and he signed a political agreement with the parliament. So is to consult all the different political forces within the country and come up with the best possible solution that will create a consensus agreement around the governance and to have a president as soon as possible. But the most important thing is the organization of the election as soon as possible. Haiti, we're in 2016. We are a democracy. We made great progress, and we cannot allow that progress to be rolled back because the President Martelly did not complete the electoral process. So it's very important for the parliament to organize and finish the electoral process as soon as possible so Haiti can have a president as early as possible.
Now, Francois Jean Henard sent a question. His question was, how will you assist the youth of Haiti to develop in social entrepreneurship?
Well, one is to bring awareness to the social entrepreneurship concept, because it's not a well-developed concept in Haiti. So this is why you can do it via social media, via seminars, workshops, talking about it, and the importance of social entrepreneurship for the development of a society, whether it's in Haiti or in the developing world or in the emerging world. And this is key to progress and to sustainability into that progress. So I believe that this is where it should go first, is the awareness raising, and get people engaged and continue along that path.
Another Twitter follower, Fred Gina, asked, how can you help with housing and agricultural issues in Haiti in a business level?
Well, one is to create the business climate. I believe that we work very hard to bring a better business climate in Haiti and to bring private sector investment and access to capital locally. With that, you can incentivize private sector investors to go and invest in, and that's very common right now in Latin America and the Caribbean, where you have investors that invest in social housing, but then you need to have government guarantees and the government support in order to do so. So we have a current law that's very attractive in Haiti right now for investment, where you have long periods of tax-free tax holidays. You have a lot of incentives. There is a law that we passed of the condominium law. Believe it or not, Haiti never had a condominium law. So a country that has this 400,000 housing deficit, we did not have even that basic law. So now we have it, it's possible. So there can be investment in that area. And of course, continue to work with the local banks, with international banks, to provide access to the capital for investors that want to invest whether it's social housing, condominium housing, or what have you. It's the access to capital is critical.
Absolutely. Great observation. I want to ask you a couple of personal questions before I let you go. I know your time is short and valuable, but you are a role model to millions of people in Haiti and elsewhere around the world. Who do you look up to for inspiration? Who's your role model?
That's a very interesting question, and that's the first time I've been asked that question, actually. I lived 3 years in South Africa, and those 3 years had a great impact on me as a person and how I view the world. So the person that I look up to is definitely Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela is a great human being. He gave up his life, I would say, for the sake of humanity, for fighting for social justice, and doing it in a humane way, that actually in an inclusive way, not in a divisive way. So I look up to him for being a humble person and an impactful person, and somebody that gave it his all for the ordinary South Africans, and he should be commended by the future generations, throughout the world, for his contribution to the social justice progress in this world.
Prime Minister, that's a great response. he truly is one of those great heroes that you and I have had the opportunity to have our lives overlap with his. So many of the great names we know in history, we only know from history. You and I had the opportunity to be more or less contemporaries of Nelson Mandela. What about, I want to ask you about why you care so deeply about fixing things in Haiti. And I realize there are great problems, and I realize that it makes sense to solve those problems. But I'm wondering why you are so personally motivated, why you feel the personal responsibility to play a role in solving Haiti's problems.
Because I love my country, and I love Haitians, and I feel that it's my duty, it's my responsibility to give back to Haiti. You know, I was a very successful, you know, business person. I went back to serve. I gave it my all, and I feel that it's, you know, that there is much more to be done, and this is why, out of, you know, love and simple love for the country.
Now that makes perfect sense, and I appreciate you sharing that personal feeling. Before you go, I love to ask all of our guests for what I call an impact hack, some tip that would help us to do more good in the world. What would you suggest?
Well, it's definitely the desire to help others and see others get better next to you, is to have a selfless approach to helping and doing good, and measuring also what you're doing. So having the impact is the desire, of course, to see others get better, but also you have to be able to measure the progress and measure the success. And this is what we don't do enough of, and too much times, certainly too frequent occasions is it done for maybe a tax write-off or something like that, but it has to be done in a more holistic way. The impact has to be done, you know, from zero to completion, and caring and having the determination, the heart into doing good, and having, because that's when you're gonna have the true impact, is when you see it through, and the people that you're helping, you deeply care about them.
Fantastic. Great response. Prime Minister, I thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today. I know that there are countless people who'd like to find ways to connect with you. What's the best way for people to connect with you? Is it Twitter, Facebook? What's the best way for people to reach out?
Well, I have a Twitter that's at Laurent Lamothe, and the Facebook, of course, is Laurent Lamothe, and, you know, my personal email is ll@laurentlamothe.com. So ll@laurentlamothe.com. Anybody can reach me there, and I do my best to to answer back, because I think that it's with the community, it's with the input from all that we get to be a better person in the most humble way, and to serve and have the greatest impact.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today, and really wish you every success in resurrecting Haiti's glory days, and wish you just success in that effort.
Thank you very much, and to everybody that's watching out there, I want to tell all the Haitians not to lose faith and to continue fighting for the country to get better.
Fantastic. Let's do some good.
Let's do some.